Prospect Foundation, Dr. Chen Tangshan, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Lin Jialong. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us today at the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Welcome. Once again, thank you all for joining us today in the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Please take a seat. Welcome. Thank you so much once again for joining us today in the opening ceremony of the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Welcome. Thank you. Once again, we'd like to thank His Excellency, Mr. President Lai Ching-te, for joining us this morning in the opening ceremony of the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Joining us today, we also have the Chairman of the Prospect Foundation, Dr. Chen Tangshan, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Lin Jialong. Thank you all for joining us. Please take a seat. Welcome. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue, hosted by the Prospect Foundation and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA. To begin, I'd like to invite the chairman of the Prospect Foundation, Dr. Chen Tangshan, to deliver his opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Chen Tangshan. Welcome. Chairman, this way. Welcome. Welcome, Dr. Chen, for your opening remarks. Please.
Good morning, Honorable President Lai Ching-te, Right Honorable Prime Minister Johnson, Mr. Lin Jialong, and Secretary General Wu Zhaoxie, Mr. Upe Radu Kanaso, President of the National Assembly, the Rui, Ukrainian parliamentary delegations, Premier Kennedy, and all distinguished guests, good morning. We are very, very happy to welcome all of you to this year's Ketagalan Forum. As we have done over the year, we gather here today in Taiwan's capital, Taipei here, to address some of the greatest challenges of our time. As wars old and new, ranging across continents, and as new iterations of threats increase risks to our security, I'm sure I think it's very essential that we take stock of this state of opportunity of our world, and just as important, that we look for solutions. This is crucial to ensuring a prosperous and secure future for humanity and for the preservation of the values that define us and the countries that we represent here today or in this hall. It warrants repeating that as the global security environment becomes increasingly complex, Taiwan is a frontline nation. In all the issues that we will be discussed today, Taiwan is a target. This is very important that we keep in our mind. It is a target. I say Taiwan is a target because of its geographical location and because of its the significance of its geopolitical importance. And also it is a great target because I believe it's a democracy, because Taiwan is a democracy, so it's a target. Consequently, Taiwan can also and must also play a role in finding the solutions that we need collectively to meet the challenges head on. But now this one can be accomplished by one state alone. However, and that is why we have here today with us a great number of distinguished guests and leaders in their respective fields. Three key topics will be featured in today's discussions. Number one, the geopolitical security landscape in the Indo-Pacific. And number two, countering hybrid warfare and strengthening whole of society defense resilience. And number three, the impacts of economic, technological, and industrial diplomacy on international politics. So those are three important topics we'll be discussing today. We understand our is a really rapid changing world, and the vigorous of time and politics compels us to be on the lookout for new threats, new responses, and of course, new opportunities. In order to do this, we need to clearly identify our opponents, the means by which they seek to undermine and defeat us, and the ways by which we can respond, we can mitigate and counter these threats. So from the threat, we understand, from this threat of traditional warfare to the use of new technologies, and from the threshold of conventional war to the dislocations of rapid economic transformation and technological advances. So this is a world that faces us today. If we put our minds together, I believe, as we are doing today here, and with a shared sense of mission, I'm quite confident that we can learn important lessons from all this and come up with a series of best practices that will allow us to prevail in what to many may seem like to say that impossible task. And maybe like in dark times, but I believe we can penetrate through and we can do it. So I want to, on behalf of the Prospect Foundations and all our staff members and the friends from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, everybody here, to thank you again for being with us today. And I wish you all a day of enlightenment, constructive exchanges of ideas, and most importantly, renewed friendships. So once again, thank you very much for coming to this very important, meaningful meeting. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the remarks, Chairman Dr. Chen Tangshan. Thank you. Please return to your seat. Thank you very much. Once again, we'd like to thank Dr. Chen Tangshan for his opening remarks, such powerful and inspiring speech. Thank you very much. Please return to your seat. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's our great privilege and distinct honor to have His Excellency Mr. President Lai Ching-te to address the opening ceremony of Kitagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Now, please join me in welcoming His Excellency Mr. President Lai Ching-te for his remarks. Welcome. Welcome.
Prospect Foundation Chairman Chen Tangshan, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Minister of Foreign Affairs Lin Jialong, former French National Assembly President François de Rugy, experts and scholars from around the world, all the distinguished guests here today, good morning.
Good morning.
This year marks the 9th year of the Kitagalan Forum. Over the years, this key platform has brought together government leaders, experts, and scholars from around the world for dialogue on all aspects of Indo-Pacific security. On behalf of the people of Taiwan, I sincerely welcome you all and thank you for joining us. This year's forum centers on 3 major themes: Indo-Pacific regional security, whole of society defense strategies in democratic countries, and the strategic integration of economic, technological, and industrial diplomacy. These themes are all closely linked with Taiwan's national development. I'm confident that this year's forum will enable Taiwan and democratic partners from around the world to achieve even greater consensus on ways we can work together for a more secure Indo-Pacific and more prosperous world. Over the past year, the international landscape has become more and more volatile. The Russia-Ukraine war is still ongoing, and conflict in the Middle East has only intensified. Meanwhile, China's military activities in the Taiwan Straits and East and South China Seas pose unprecedented challenges to rules-based international order. As authoritarianism continues to expand, democratic nations must join even closer in solidarity to defend our values. Taiwan holds a key position on the fourth iron chain, making us a keystone of Indo-Pacific peace and stability. In view of this, we have been moving forward with the 4 pillars of Peace Action Plan since I took office. This includes boosting our national defense, building economic security, demonstrating stable and principled cross-strait leadership, and promoting values-based diplomacy. Our government remains committed to maintaining the status quo and ensuring peace and stability across Taiwan Strait. At the same time, we will deepen partnerships with other democratic nations to advance global prosperity and development. Taiwan is also taking the initiative to enhance our whole of society defense and resilience. This July, we introduced National Solidarity Month. This combines our yearly Hanguang military exercises with new urban resilience drills. The initiative expanded civil participation, and through military-civilian cooperation, helped verify the resilience of government agencies and people throughout the nation to address extreme situations. Alongside these efforts, we are continuing to reform and invest even more resources in our national defense. Next year's defense budget will reach a target of over 3% of GDP to boost Taiwan's self-defense capabilities. Taiwan will also continue to enhance its economic resilience and steadily advance its economic security, while we further deepen our economic and trade cooperation with other countries. We will keep upgrading our 5 trusted industry sectors of semiconductors, artificial intelligence, military, security and surveillance, and next-gen communications. A nation's strength and its democratic footing are grounded firmly in its economy. I'm confident that if democracies can join hands in creating more robust, more resilient global democratic supply chains, we can spur even more economic prosperity and further consolidate our democracy. To all dear friends of Taiwan, in this turbulent global landscape, Taiwan stands on the front lines of authoritarian threat, which is also the forefront of the global defense of democracy. Thus, we know how precious peace is. And we recognize that peace in the Taiwan Strait is not just a regional issue, but a shared responsibility for economic stability and security around the world. As a responsible member of the international community, Taiwan will stand with the world's democracies to face challenges, uphold the rules-based international order, defend peace through strength, and protect our hard-earned, free, and democratic way of life. Once again, thank you for participating in this dialogue and for standing with Taiwan. I wish you all lively and productive discussions today and a great stay in Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President Lai, for addressing the opening ceremony. And due to the scheduling considerations, Mr. President has to depart from the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please once again join me for a round of applause to thank His Excellency, Mr. President Lai Ching-te, for joining us this morning. Thank you very much. Many thanks to Mr. President Lai Ching-te and all our distinguished guests for gracing the opening ceremony of the Ketagalan Forum 2025 Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue with all of your presence. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please thank all our guests here today. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for joining us and giving us an opening speech. Thank you very much. Please once again thank Mr. President and all our guests here today. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our first keynote speech will begin shortly in about 10 minutes, and we will now take a short break. And in 10 minutes, we will resume our forum, so please remain seated during this time. If you need to step out, please be sure to return to your seat by 9:40 a.m. as we will begin promptly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our next session will begin in about 5 minutes. I'd like to invite you to please take your seats and silence your mobile devices. Our next session will begin in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is about to begin shortly. I'd like to invite all of you to please take a seat immediately. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Our next session is about to begin shortly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our opening keynote speech is about to begin. I'd like to invite all of you to please take your seats and silence your mobile devices. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to invite all of you to please take your seats as our next session is about to begin. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite all of you once again to please take your seat as our next session is about to begin. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the forum, and please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome our morning keynote speaker, the Right Honorable Boris Johnson, and our host, Ambassador François Wu Zhizhong, Deputy of the MOFA Taiwan, to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. Welcome. Please welcome the Right Honorable Boris Johnson to the stage, and please take a seat, and also welcome our host, Ambassador François Wu Zhizhong. Welcome. Please.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, 各位女士先生 ，Good morning, bonjour, 大家早安。On behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Taiwan, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome you all this year's Catagalan Forum Indo-Pacific Security Dialogue. Today, we are especially proud to host a figure whose presence speaks volumes about the importance of shared democratic value and the deepening bonds between free societies. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, the Right Honorable Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. This occasion marks Monsieur Johnson's first visit to Taiwan. We are delighted to welcome him in a spirit of friendship and sincere respect. Mr. Johnson served as a UK Prime Minister from 2019 to 2022, a time of extraordinary global turbulence and transformation. His premiership was characterized by an unwavering conviction in the power of democracy to stand united in the face of threat, be they political, economic, or military. Under Mr. Johnson's leadership, the United Kingdom took whole steps to reposition itself globally, most notably through the 2021 Integrated Review, which heralded Britain's strategic tilt toward the Indo-Pacific. This reorientation acknowledged the region's growing importance to worldwide peace and prosperity, and it paved the way for deeper cooperation with like-minded democracies, including Taiwan. in particular when the United Kingdom held the G7 presidency during Mr. Johnson's term in 2021. The G7 leaders' communique for the first time explicitly underscore the importance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. This marked a collective sharpening of the G7 focus on Indo-Pacific affairs and represented a meaningful expression of support for Taiwan's security and international presence. Taiwan deeply appreciated Mr. Johnson's commitment to upholding democratic values and his role in fostering a more inclusive and rule-based international order. Mr. Johnson has never shied away from speaking truth to power. He has been one of the clearest and the most consistent voices in Europe in support of Taiwan's democracy and in calling attention to rising tension across the Taiwan Strait. His stance has underscored the importance of maintaining peace, stability, and the freedom of navigation in this vital region, and has contributed significantly to international awareness and resolve. At the same time, Mr. Johnson has played a leading role on the global stage in responding to Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine. During his premiership, the United Kingdom moved swiftly to implement strong sanctions against Moscow, provide robust military and humanitarian aid to Kiev, and a ready international partner in defense of the principle of sovereignty and international law. His leadership on this issue demonstrated a profound commitment to collective security and democratic resilience. But Mr. Johnson is more than a leader of consequence. He is also a powerful and persuasive communicator. His ability to link strategic vision with human values and to speak candidly in defense of liberty makes his voice a particularly vital one in today's increasingly contested world. As Taiwan continues to work with a global partner to safeguard peace in the Indo-Pacific and uphold the rules-based international order, we are honored to count Mr. Johnson as a friend and a supporter of Taiwan cause. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, 各位女士先生, please join me in extending a very, very warm welcome to our distinguished keynote speaker, the Right Honorable Boris Johnson.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Wu. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Right Honorable Boris Johnson for his speech. Welcome.
Well, Minister Wu, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, the longest and most enthusiastic introduction I've had for a very long time. Li ho, everybody.
Ni hao.
Very, very good to see you. And Mr. Chairman of the Prospect Foundation, Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée Nationale, ministers, colleagues, friends, Ukrainian friends who are here, thank you for this invitation. It's wonderful to be here in Taiwan at last, because until yesterday, I had only seen this country on my lockdown Peloton machine, which had a screen on the handlebars giving me the illusion that I was cycling on the coastal path of Taiwan. And so for day after day, I was up on the top floor of number 10 Downing Street, puffing away on my exercise bike and watching the rain-slicked tarmac of Taiwan spool away in front of me. And I believed I was on this magic island. And I noticed everything. I noticed how beautiful it is. And I also noticed, by the way, how sheer, how vertical the cliffs are and how difficult to attack, which is a point I think that deserves to be more widely noted. But I couldn't see any people, and I couldn't see the culture, and there were no clues as to Taiwanese society, except it all seemed very clean and very well organized. And it was irritating because I wanted to find out about the incredible Taiwanese triumph, which I believe will be in the key technology of the 21st century. And so I've come here really as a pilgrim and as an admirer from a distance of Taiwan, and as a total believer in AI and an addict of ChatGPT. And look, I don't mind if ChatGPT occasionally makes things up or gets things wrong, because it's so polite and so good for my ego. And imagine having a little friend who tells you every day, you had a brilliant and original idea. You're so clever, says ChatGPT. Me love you long time, says ChatGPT. And it's all free. It's absolutely fantastic. And far from fearing the future, I look forward to the day when artificial intelligence goes through the protected bourgeois professions like a whirlwind of fire, torching the ridiculous, time-consuming, and don't you agree? Time-consuming, expensive nonsense conveyancing, planning applications, way leaves, all this legal stuff. All this stuff that's been used to hold people like me to ransom for generations. And look, I mean, don't worry, all the people who do these jobs, you know, the accountants, lawyers and so forth, they're going to get other jobs. It's going to be fine, because great technological change always ends up creating more well-paid jobs than it destroys. And we will solve the problem of social care workers, the shortage of social care workers, which we have in our country, not with more immigrants, but with, I think, eventually ChatGPT. ChatGPT androids, reminding the elderly to take their pills in a tirelessly polite and deferential manner. AI is going to help humanity in millions of ways that we can only guess at right now. It's the biggest advance in cognitive power I have seen in my lifetime. It has the potential to be bigger than the internet, bigger than Gutenberg, bigger than print itself. And all of it is made possible by Taiwan, isn't it? It's true. As I'm sure you all know, about 95%, perhaps even 100% now, of the sophisticated microprocessors that are necessary for AI are made here through the genius of Taiwanese manufacturers' atomic-level precision in lithography and etching. I remember when I first became Prime Minister of the UK in 2019, I said, look, you know, I was aware of this thing. I said, look, we've got to catch up with Taiwan. We can't lag behind. I said to my officials, how much would it cost for us to build a fabrication plant here in the UK? And they said £9 billion to begin with. I thought, that seemed quite a lot. But I said, okay, right. And then they said, but even if we could do it on a reasonable timescale, we could not guarantee that our chips would be as good as Taiwan's, because year after year, the Taiwanese are getting better and better. And year after year, these Taiwanese chips put new distance between themselves and their competitors. And so, of course, I gave up the idea of the UK government trying to compete with you. And I've come here because I know that there is a fundamental reason why this miracle is taking place on this island and nowhere else in the world, or at any rate, a unique combination of factors. There's a strategic vision of the Taiwanese government. We just heard just now from President Lai, the companies themselves who are driven by constant desire to improve. But then there's the whole commercial environment of Taiwan. The spirit that you notice as soon as you get here, which you can't detect on your number 10 peloton, as I say. And it seems to me that there is a zing and an energy and an optimism here because this is a free country where everyone has the equal protection of the law, where you don't have to worry that someone is going to steal your intellectual property because you have security of IP, and where you don't have to bribe some party apparatchik to get a contract because, on the whole, corruption here is very low. And that freedom, under the law, gives people tremendous confidence to invest and to take risks, commercial risks, that they might not otherwise take and therefore to innovate. And I think that is why Taiwan leads the world in what is currently the world's most important technology. And so, of course, it follows that it's vital, not just for Taiwan, but for the West, for my country, for the whole world, that we protect that freedom here in Taiwan. Because I think I can safely say after 24 hours that we have a miracle here in this country. A Chinese country of 24 million people where the population feels free, feels different, and feels a strong sense of Taiwanese identity. And as far as I understand things, the majority of people do not, on the whole, want to declare that they are immediately a sovereign state independent of Beijing. Have I got that right? That seems to be the general, or a view of a large number of people, because they're aware of the sensitivities on the mainland. All they want, as we've heard from the President earlier on, all they want is to protect the status quo, to protect democratic self-government and the freedom that is at least partly responsible, I believe, for your success. And the sad thing about what is happening now is that it is not the people of Taiwan who are demanding unilateral constitutional change, is it? On the contrary, it's Beijing that is insisting without the slightest evidence that the current arrangements are somehow unsatisfactory. And every day, we see it on our TV screens. The People's Republic of China is trying to bully Taiwan into submission. And the PRC is sending boats into Taiwanese waters and planes into Taiwanese airspace, as if to remind the world, as though we needed reminding, of the might of the Chinese armed forces, and thereby signaling their intention by 2027, we're told, which is not very far away at all, to impose Chinese communist rule on this island, to eradicate democracy, to impose unification, and basically to run the place from Beijing. And they are signaling, and they've said expressly, that if necessary, they are willing to use force. And of course, around the world, people look at the relative size of the two entities, population size, Taiwan versus the People's Republic of China, 24 million versus 1.3 billion, or whatever it is. And they wonder how Taiwan could possibly survive in such a struggle. I mean, around the world they do. I don't think they worry about it here, do they? Anyway, do you think Taiwan, let me ask you seriously, do you think Taiwan can survive? Do you think this blessed island, this happy accident of history, can keep its free and democratic status? Do you? Yes. Good. Well, I'm here to assure you that I also believe that Taiwan can and Taiwan will, because it's plain to me that freedom is what the people of Taiwan want. And in the phrase of John Stuart Mill, you are lovers of your own liberty. And I don't believe that spirit will ever be crushed. And I say, therefore, to our friends in Beijing, and they should be our friends, by the way, that is a huge mistake to use intimidating and aggressive measures against Taiwan. And that publicly to contemplate violence is madness. Because the minute you use force to make a unilateral change to the status quo, you risk a chain of events that you cannot control, because that is, I'm afraid, what war always means. And we know, of course, that there are currently ambiguities in the official US position, the official British position, about what we would all do in the event of an attack on Taiwan. And that is for the very good reason that no one wants to get drawn into a discussion about a set of circumstances that we all passionately hope to avoid. But you also know, because you've seen it at this conference and previous versions of this conference, that there are already powerful, distinguished American politicians who are willing to speak up for the defense of Taiwan. And you know that there are many in Washington who are absolutely determined to prevent what America fears would be a major change in the balance of power in the Asia-Pacific region and in the configuration of the political configuration of the first island chain. Washington is passionately against that. And by the way, we all know that the United States has the ability, the sheer kinetic power, to change the course of any war on the planet. And I know, we know, in my country, that if America did get engaged in some operation, then the chances are that they would ask for assistance from their closest partners, their AUKUS partners, for instance, France too, I have no doubt, Britain, Australia, and others. And you'll have heard the other day what our Defence Secretary, our Labour Defence Secretary, John Healey, said about the natural instinct of Britain to help its friends and allies. Now, I don't think he was talking about any particular scenario or how in particular Britain or any other European country would react. Because the truth is, right now, we don't know how it would look, how it would feel, what the occasion would demand from the Western powers. We're uncertain. And that is the whole point. That is how disasters begin. It is far easier to start a war than to predict how it will go. And you only have to go back 3 years to see how an act of war can trigger consequences that are entirely unforeseen and unintended. And there are clear differences between Taiwan and Ukraine. Analogies are not always accurate. But there are some lessons that can certainly be drawn. And when Putin invaded Ukraine in February 2022, he did not expect that by now Russia would have sustained 1 million casualties with 250,000 dead, did he? He didn't bargain for that. He didn't expect that after the colossal expense of Russian blood and treasure, he would still only control about 18% of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, by the way. Slava Ukraine. He never expected that the Ukrainians would resist so heroically, or that they would receive such steadfast and generous Western support, started, by the way, by President Trump when he gave the Javelin missiles. The war has been appalling for the poor and blameless people of Ukraine. It's been a disaster for the world. It has also been a total catastrophe for Putin. He will go down in history, not as the man who reunited the two most important parts of the former Soviet Union, not as the man who brought Ukraine back under Moscow's control. He will be remembered as the man who, by his arrogance and impatience, created in the hearts of Ukrainians an absolutely inextinguishable national feeling and desire for independence. Putin is not the man who restored Russian pride. He is the man who gambled on violence and lost, and believe me, he is going to lose. And I think in the Trump White House, the scales have now fallen from their eyes about Putin. And there is a real possibility that in just a couple of days, I think August the 8th, isn't it? Those countries, third countries that have been enabling Putin's war by buying his hydrocarbons, India and China, will be hit hard by secondary sanctions. And of course, I don't think any of those countries imagined for a second when this war began that they might in time be visited by that kind of punishment. And I dwell on the lesson of Ukraine, but not because the comparison is perfect. Clearly there are important differences. But to make this basic point that if you trigger violence, then you are firing a Sarajevo pistol that can lead to disaster for you and for the entire world. And so that's why it's so vital that we address this problem in a way that I think the people of Taiwan want. We heard it just now from the President. It's vital that we address it in the way that I think the people of Britain want and the world want. And that is to have peaceful dialogue across the Straits of Taiwan. And I think, we can be totally respectful, but we should ask our colleagues in Beijing to explain just why is it so essential to you to conquer Taiwan? When this island presents no conceivable threat to the mainland, is it really worth the risk? Is it really worth the risk, Beijing, when the consequences for the whole world could be so dire? And by the way, is it really necessary for every segment of the Chinese population to be ruled by the Chinese Communist Party? Can there not be places, beautiful places, that are differently Chinese? Of course there can. I think, by the way, it's I think it's an advantage for Beijing to have this innovative society, this society is incredibly fertile in technological developments right next door, investing massively, by the way, in China. And at the same time, we say to our Taiwanese friends, and the purpose of my mission here today, we say to our Taiwanese friends, we're with you. We stand with you because you are, as has been said, in the front line of the struggle against autocracies. We're with you for strategic reasons, because no one wants the chaos, confusion, and uncertainty that would follow such a change in the balance of the power. No one around the world wants that. No one wants war. And certainly no one wants Chinese domination of the first island chain. We're also with you, quite frankly, for economic reasons, aren't we? For your vital role in global supply chains, not least, as I say, in microprocessors. And all I can say in conclusion is that as China intensifies its pressure on Taiwan, I hope that we all, the West, America, the UK, all Europeans, will have the courage not to tiptoe away, not to be cowed by our desire to be deferential to Beijing, but to stand with Taiwan and to deepen our economic partnership. That's what we need to do right now as the pressure intensifies on Taiwan. And last night, I can tell you, I've had a wonderful time in Taiwan so far. Last night, I went out to a restaurant called Din Tai Fung, I think. It was absolutely rammed with people, and they were eating more different and more complicated types of dumplings than I've ever seen in my life. It was a sort of temple to dumplings, this place. It was devoted to the cult of the dumpling. And I met a guy there last night, and I'd met him before, because actually, about 6 years ago, I helped to open the first Din Tai Fung. Have I got that right? Yeah. I happened to open the first Din Tai Fung in London, and they got me to make some dumplings very unsuccessfully. And I am thrilled to say that since then, there are now 3 such Din Tai Fungs in London, and Taiwanese influence is spreading the whole time. And UK-Taiwan trade, you should know, I am proud to say, is growing, and growing fast. £9 billion this year. Financial services, Johnny Walker, obviously seems to be very important. I noticed all sorts of different colour Johnny Walker, indigo label, mauve label. I don't know, I've never tasted any of these drinks, but they seem to be very popular here in Taiwan. Obviously very good for the Scottish economy. And we should intensify that economic partnership. And we are. I'm very pleased that the UK office here is well staffed and highly active. And in the end, folks, we're with you for the best reason of all, which is that we share your values. UK, Taiwan, we're two island democracies who understand that freedom is not just a wonderful thing because it helps you build a better silicon chip. Obviously it does, and Taiwan is the proof of that, right? I've made that argument. We're with you because we both understand that freedom is also a wonderful thing in principle, and it's a wonderful thing in itself. So thank you, Taiwan. Thank you for your bravery and for standing up for freedom in a very difficult and dangerous part of the world. You will have our support, and let us stand up for freedom together. Thank you all very, very much for having me at your conference today. Thank you.
Thank you. Many thanks to the Right Honorable Boris Johnson for his inspiring and powerful speech. Mr. Johnson, please depart from your right-hand side. Thank you very much. Let us give him a round of applause once again as we thank him for his steadfast support and bid him farewell for his departure. Thank you. Mr. Johnson's unwavering commitment to the values of freedom and democracy and his enduring friendship with Taiwan are sincerely valued and will long be remembered. And once again, I'd like to also thank Deputy Minister Wu for hosting and presenting introductory remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a short break. Our next session, the panel discussion 1, will begin at 10:30. Please return to your seat promptly before 10:30 and allow us to start the next session timely. And we have some refreshments and beverages prepared outside of the hall for you. And please be reminded to keep your valuables with you at all times. Thank you and see you later.